The war in Iran is causing a spike in gas prices and pushing inflation to 3.3% in March. And that's significant because that's the fastest increase we've seen in nearly 2 years, according to newly released data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Meanwhile, consumer sentiment is at its lowest level on record since 1952, a sign Americans are getting a little uneasy with the economy. I want to bring in pollster and communication strategist Frank Luntz, who joins me now. So, Frank, I just want to start with, how politically problematic is this war-fueled economic slide for President Trump and his allies, considering that was the #1 issue for voters when they went to the ballot box back in November?
Well, for most people, the economy is the #1 issue. And I want to apologize to viewers for the sound of voice, but I thought this was too important to pass up. The fact is,
I knew you'd fight through, but thanks for being here.
Yes, I'm not giving up. The affordability, gas prices, energy prices, food prices, housing, healthcare, all of these are key issues, and they're all voter issues. Now, make no mistake, this is still April. There's more than 6 months between now and Election Day. But there is no issue that will be more important to Republicans' efforts to keep the House and the Senate than the economy in general and affordability in particular. And this is not good news for the president at this moment.
Well, and even if a deal is made in the Strait of Hormuz, you know, the speed with which these gas prices go up doesn't always match the speed with which they go down. So this could actually extend a good long time after this as well. We will see. I want to get your pulse on, look, President Trump blasting right-wing pundits who've criticized the war. Public polling, though, does show Trump's war with Iran is backed by a large majority of Republican voters. But do you believe the likes of Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and more speak for a significant part of Trump's base? How do you assess their voices in this?
The voices matter. And the fact that the president doesn't have a united front at this moment among people who backed him in 2024 is of obvious concern. But the critical nature for me, as a pollster, are the independents. These are individuals who will vote in 2026, are not aligned by political party, are not particularly ideological, and are not particularly political. And their opinions matter most because they're the deciding vote in the 24 seats that determine who controls the Congress. And right now, their hostility to the war, at least at this moment, is going to be a problem for the Republicans. But again, it's only the middle of April, and so much can change between now and then.
Yeah,
it's still a warning sign. There are red lights flashing everywhere. But that just tells me that the White House and Congress needs to do a better job of explaining why, how, and what happens at the end.
Yeah, I mean, saying this is early, look how much has happened already to this point in April. It feels like a million news cycles to this point. You know, you were talking about polling. I was looking at new Pew polling that was out where 6 in 10 Americans have a very or somewhat unfavorable view of Israel, which is interesting because it's up 7 percentage points since last year and nearly 20 points since 2022. Now, a majority of Republicans view Israel favorably, but there is a generational divide there. And I just wonder, do you believe that has factored into Americans' negative view on the war overall, especially since the countries have been almost in lockstep throughout this?
This has never happened in modern history, or in at least over the last 25 years. Israel has always been seen favorably by most Republicans. It's been seen unfavorably by some Democrats. But the partisanship is less important right now, and the age break is so significant. Younger voters have turned against Israel and supportive of the Palestinians in numbers that I've never seen since the new millennium. And for the Israelis, they have to be concerned that their messaging and their procedures and their policies and how they prosecuted this war is causing the American people to turn against them in numbers that they never imagined before. And let me say this. Foreign policy normally doesn't matter in off-year elections. But this year, in terms of where the heat is, where voters are most passionate, the fact that Israel has seen this decline in its public support, I believe that Israel is going to be one of the issues that's going to matter in this upcoming election, and that the people over in Tel Aviv ought to be paying attention to this, because in the end, funding, allies, support really does matter to the country and to the people of that country. And they better be paying attention to it, because this is significant and this is serious.
Well, and funding for foreign allies does tend to permeate the base a little bit more when you look at the state of the economy. We saw a little bit of that fracturing in terms of repeated support for Ukraine amid its war going into the presidential election last year. Back in 2024. I want to ask you one more thing. The New York Times reporting Vice President Vance, understanding Trump wanted to act, pushed for overwhelming force to get the job done quickly, and that Vance warned the war could break apart President Trump's political coalition and would be seen as a betrayal by many voters who had bought into the promise of no new wars. Now, once the war started, he didn't try to sell the American public on the conflict, and I know we are looking way ahead at this point. But has this conflict better positioned him for a 2028 run when compared to Rubio? How do you assess the relationship between sort of the political dynamics of the future of the Republican Party and the dynamic of how this current issue is being handled in the moment?
Make no mistake, the closeness of the president and his key advisors and the key people in the administration is unbreakable and unshakable. And to suggest anything else is simply kind of playing games. That J.D. Vance is the front runner by far, and it'll be very hard for anyone to topple him. That said, it is so long between now and then that it's kind of unfair to prognosticate. I believe that this vice president and this president are aligned, and that, to me, I'm focused on what's happening among the undecided, the unaffiliated, and the independent, because where they swing will determine who controls Congress, and that in itself will have the biggest impact on who runs and who wins in 2028.
And a group of voters that is watching everything playing out right now very, very closely, with implications for a midterm election that is far but will be here before we know it. Frank Luntz, appreciate you powering through. Thanks for being here.